So you're just really creating the shape of that, just like you're forming a tree or a shadow. Or...
Yeah, I'm hoping, I'm just aiming towards having a bit of mystery here, and then I'll establish the bank coming out here.
Mm-hmm.
There is a groupings, and I'm trying to have sort of grouping, a pattern of groupings here of trees by use of marks. So at the moment I'm using a bit of Australian red gold. I'm actually quite excited about it. It's got a beautiful glow coming through. So again, you can hear it's a bit scratchy, but dragging it behind some of those trees.
You just covered up that face you didn't realise was there.
I'm glad you didn't tell me beforehand.
Oh God.
What I've done is, you probably noticed that I've changed back to my filbert rounded brush. And I'm starting just to define a couple of the shapes of the trees using just a mixture of these colours that I've mixed up earlier.
Sure.
With the greens. The bank actually zigzags in and out. It's not actually flat. So you've got a lot of land in between all those trees. So if you did a straight line like so, coming down, which is what a photo would tell you, well, your eye would just go fall off the edge of the planet.
Sure.
Secret is not to be too precious. It's very exciting when you've got a gorgeous area, but if nothing else is working for you, well, you've got to get rid of that gorgeous area and not have it. But I'm really starting to feel the magic colours. So it's switching the brush to, what are they called, a Neef 987 Talon Glaze. Dipping.
That's what they would say in Scotland. It's not a Neef.
It's not a Neef.
It's not a Neef already.
Eh? It's got a beautiful pure edge on this. Now, it's just these little marks that suggest that there's little alcoves or little crevices of mountains coming through. Really fine lines. Very easy to have a fine control.
Sure.
Some artists use a stick. I tend to just use the base here. Rest my arm on like so. You notice I'm not doing a continuous line. Okay, because if you look at water, it's constantly being broken. Alternatively, even a couple of dots sometimes add a bit of, or little flecks add a bit of interest as well. So it's something like that. Because mentally your eye actually carries you across anyway. You do have to look back sometimes, because it's important that these lines are actually parallel to each other. You can't have water running uphill. I'm trying for that glassy transparency there, still having the warmth of the underpainting coming through.
And what you're doing there is you're actually painting all of those strokes downwards, aren't you?
Yeah, which you do need to be aware that these vertical lines we do need to balance out with some horizontals.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't want to lose that warmth underneath, but we do want you. This is quite clarified here, and this is still a bit patchy. What I feel is a little bit patchy. So I'm just trying to put a bit more, feed more colour in there. I quite like that light coming through, and remembering the light's coming through here. There's a lot of warmth from Australian red gold. I'll flip that back in through. Well, it's quite white, but that's okay.
It's like an alien spaceship.
Technically, again, same principle. Warmer as you come forward, so you notice that there's still a lot of violet and blue and reds here, but there's more yellow coming through at this point. Always with oils thin to thick with your paint, otherwise you can have cracking. And so I can get away with this because I've used medium, and also the paint is very thin. But when next time you look at a painting, you'll realise how many layers, even if it doesn't look like there's a lot of paint applied, how many layers of colours actually shine through. There's always room for adjustments. I'm a pretty neat painter, I think, when I paint at this level. When I'm painting murals or out on location doing studies for commissions, it's a bit different. Again, I'm really just making suggestions of tree shapes. And this is a time of immense concentration to try and suggest a bank.
Do you like a hanky for the sweat?
What I'm doing as I'm creating again just a suggestion of the banks moving forward, I'm adding a little bit more warmth. Very fine line because I don't want it to dash all the time.
Still doing that sort of rounding effect, aren't you?
Yeah, just suggesting. There's quite a grouping of trees there in the foreground. Just so typical for the areas that haven't been cleared for farming. The banks of the river obviously is quite populated with trees. There's the camphor, which is an introduced species of tree that, because of the pigeon, thanks to the pigeon, it's proliferated the countryside a little bit.
Well, they eat the seeds.
Yeah.
But they are a beautiful smelling tree.
That's
the smell of camphor, it's just gorgeous.
And the old camphors look quite majestic. Now, I do remember I was quite excited around here, those yellow marks, because behind it was actually a dead limb. See that in parts of Australia, don't you? All these dead limbs. Early in the morning, and about 5 o'clock, it's quite typical for a couple of cattle egrets. There's usually about 5 of them in the flock where we live. And,
just sort of making their way across the water.
Yeah. And you've got to let the painting talk to you. There comes a point where you've got to react to it and things that are happening, you know. And that nothing's really that precious.
It's a bit like a relationship. Without good communication, it just breaks down.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good analogy. And even if it's just a little bit of a flicker, because this water is broken here, so you're not going to have a solid straight line. It's a bit of a flicker, a bit of a suggestion.
But thanks very much for having me in your studio. It's been sensational, and hopefully we'll see you at some other stage as we go through the series.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I really enjoyed it. It was a great process.
That's great.
And I'm sure that the viewers got a lot from it, and also the magic and beauty of our countryside. It's a beautiful place to be on this planet.
Excellent.
Okay, great.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in. And our next artist is Andy Romanis. And Andy is a pastel artist, but he's very, very creative, and he's going to be painting the cetaceans, which are whales. So tune in next time. We'll go from there. But thanks for looking in anyway.
How about that, folks? Very talented, isn't she? See, the mountain's standing up to its reputation as the cloud catcher. As I said, the next artist we're going to see is Andy Romanis. He's going to be doing a whale for us. Remember, if you want to see any of this, you can go to colournyourlife.com.au. But until next time, make sure you put some colour in your life.